If you haven't seen this yet, you need to keep watching right now. Because what happened today on live broadcast was one of the most striking, most unexpected, and most silent moments seen in a congressional chamber in Washington's last decade. Silent. Because the one doing the talking was a single name. No one had thought that name would carry this much weight. That chamber of the Senate Intelligence Committee had hosted similar scenes dozens of times. Classified files had been read. Documents had been placed on the table. Directors had been cornered. Each time the system had been shaken, but not brought down. But today was different. Because today, Schiff didn't just read a file. He said a name. And the moment that name was spoken, what everyone saw happen on Patel's face occurred. Panic. Pure, naked panic that couldn't be hidden beneath bureaucratic masks. Underestimating Adam Schiff has been one of Washington's most costly mistakes. This Democratic senator representing California presents an outwardly calm, measured, academic profile. His voice rarely rises. His expressions rarely change. His questions are brief, his sentences clean. But beneath that calm lies decades of federal prosecutorial experience. Schiff spent the first part of his career filing RICO cases against organized crime networks. The most critical lesson he learned in those cases was this: a name is more powerful than thousands of documents. Because documents can be refuted with technical solutions. They can be concealed with protocols. They can be brushed aside with bureaucratic language. But a name, once spoken, cannot be taken back. Schiff said that name today, and Patel panicked. The hearing began at 10:15 in the morning. Patel had arrived with his usual preparation. Lawyers by his side, pre-approved answers, a bureaucratic language shield designed to deflect every question. The man sitting in the FBI director's chair looked comfortable. The first 2 hours confirmed this impression. Standard questions, standard answers. Every corner had been closed off. Every opening had been covered. At 12:03, Schiff took the floor. On his desk was a file, marked with red classification strips. FBI letterhead. Official seal. Patel looked at that file. And for the first time, something stirred beneath that bureaucratic mask. Schiff began speaking in an unusual way. "Director," he said, his voice completely calm as always. "I am going to ask you questions today about a single subject." Patel waited. That subject concerns a single name inside this file. The chamber suddenly focused its attention on Schiff with curiosity. Because this was an opening line never heard before. Senators would start with documents. They would start with dates. They would start with numbers. They wouldn't start with names. But Schiff had started with one. "Director, do you recognize this file?" Patel looked at the file. 1 second. 2 seconds. "Senator," without seeing the contents of the document. "You can see the outer cover. You can see the seal. You can see the date. Do you recognize this file?" Patel swallowed. "Regarding classified materials of this kind with the public. With this committee. Do you recognize this file?" Silence. "Director, I may have become familiar with certain materials." "You may have become familiar." Schiff opened the file. "Then you would know the name inside it as well." Before or after 2019, the surveillance process was initiated in connection with various triggering events. Was Epstein's arrest a trigger? Silence. "Director, when Epstein was arrested, was Tarrant already on the list?" A long silence. "Certain materials may be of a nature that supports this connection. So yes." Schiff leaned forward. "Tarrant was already under surveillance before Epstein was arrested." The third question was the one that caught everyone off guard. Schiff pulled a second page from the file. "Director, I am now going to read you a different document. This is a summary belonging to the record of correspondence between Robert Tarrant and the FBI. Date, November 2024. Patel's hands moved under the table. Schiff began to read. In a meeting conducted with RT, the said individual stated that direct communication had been established with the FBI Director's Office. The statement regarding the content of this communication points to a coordination outside standard informant protocols. The chamber froze. "Director," said Schiff. "Robert Tarrant stated that he had been in direct communication with the FBI Director's Office. Did this communication take place?" Patel did not respond. "Director, Senator, communications within the scope of informant protocols. Did this communication take place?" "Certain operational communications. Yes or no?" Silence. "Director, did communication take place between Robert Tarrant and the Director's Office?" Patel looked at his lawyer. The lawyer gave a slight shake of his head. Certain communications may exist. May exist. Schiff's voice dropped, but the microphone caught every word. So it happened. At this point, Schiff paused, and the entire chamber understood what that pause meant. Because Schiff's strategy had been different from anything seen until that moment. He had come with documents, had cornered with technical contradictions. But now, the technical portion was over. Now, the real question was coming. "Director," said Schiff. His voice had not changed, but the thing inside it had changed. "I am going to ask you a single question now. And the answer to this question is the essence of today's entire hearing." Patel waited. His hands were still under the table. Is Robert Tarrant a target of the FBI investigation, or a part of the FBI investigation? The chamber froze, because the difference between these two options changed everything. If Tarrant was a target of the investigation, the FBI was tracking him. If Tarrant was a part of the investigation, the FBI was working with him. And between these two options lay everything about why the Epstein files had been closed. "Director, is Tarrant a target or a partner?" Patel did not respond for a long time after that question. And within that silence, the entire chamber felt the same thing. The answer had already been given. With silence. Before Schiff spoke his final words, he closed the file. "Director, this morning I read you a classified file on live broadcast. I said the single name inside it. Robert Tarrant." Patel looked on. And the moment I said that name, the entire chamber saw the same thing. "You panicked. Directors don't panic. Prepared people don't panic. People who have answers don't panic." He paused. "But people who have something to hide do panic." Schiff stood up. "Robert Tarrant is now in the congressional record. This name is now a name that everyone will know. And the connection of this name to the Epstein investigation, to the FBI director's office, and to you, is now recorded somewhere far larger than the walls of this chamber." He paused. "In history, there are people who need to hear this name and this connection. Sharing is a more powerful choice than staying silent. Because the continuation of this story depends on how many people are informed." And Schiff began to read. The first page of the file carried technical content. FBI internal classification protocols, counterintelligence categories, the scope of the investigation under which the file had been compiled. Schiff skipped these and went directly to the third page. Quote, "FBI Counterintelligence Assessment Report. Date, October 2024. Subject, high-profile individuals within the scope of the Epstein investigation." The chamber seemed to freeze instantly. Schiff continued. "This report lists individuals who appear multiple times in counterintelligence materials compiled within the scope of the Epstein investigation and are assessed to be of high-profile status. In Category A of the list, that is, among individuals carrying urgent investigative priority, there are a total of 9 names." He paused. The first of these 9 names. Patel's hands gripped each other on the table. Robert Tarrant. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Then everything changed. Because Robert Tarrant was a name Washington knew, but a name the public did not know. Someone who had been in Epstein's innermost circle for years, connected to dozens of high-profile names, one of the key figures in his financial network, and someone who had been on the FBI's radar, and someone who had never come before the public. Until this moment. Schiff continued. "Director, do you know Robert Tarrant?" Patel's face had changed. That bureaucratic mask, that director's armor, that composure perfected over dozens of hearings. All of it had shattered at once. His eyes widened. His breathing quickened. His hands sought each other on the table. He had panicked. "Senator, regarding this name with the public, with this committee, do you know Robert Tarrant? Regarding any name in this context. Yes or no?" Silence. "Director, do you know Robert Tarrant?" A long silence. "This name may appear in certain investigative materials." Schiff moved to the second question. "Director, is Robert Tarrant on the FBI's active surveillance list?" Patel looked at his lawyer. The lawyer averted his eyes. "Active surveillance lists, due to operational sensitivities. Is he on the active surveillance list? This type of specific operational. Yes or no?" Silence. "Director." Patel took a deep breath. "Certain individuals may be assessed under various monitoring categories. That means yes." Schiff noted something down. "Tarrant is on the active surveillance list. So, since when has he been on this list?" "Certain dates with the public. Before or after 2019? Silence. 2019 is the year Epstein was arrested, Director." Was Tarrant already on the surveillance list at that time? Patel swallowed. The monitoring processes of certain individuals in connection with related investigations. When the hearing ended, Patel was the first name to leave the chamber. His lawyers rushed after him. The cameras followed his path to the exit. But Patel never stopped, never turned back. Robert Tarrant was now in the congressional record. The question, target or partner, was in the congressional record. And Patel's panicked reaction to that single name had said far more than anything he had spoken. A single name, Robert Tarrant, and everything that crumbled the moment that name was spoken. Every certain materials, answer gave birth to a new question. Every may exist, phrase brought a new connection to light. And every silence added a little more weight to that single name. When Schiff opened that file today, he didn't just read Patel a name. He showed him what a single name could mean. And the panic on Patel's face proved that that name explained everything. Schiff opened the file. He said a single name. And Patel panicked. Robert Tarrant. Now everyone knows. If you don't want to miss the continuation of this story, stay tuned. Because Robert Tarrant's story is not the last of these questions. And every new hearing continues from where the previous one left off.